All right, it's 5:27. We'll call the special common council meeting to order. Motion to adopt the agenda.
So moved.
Motion been made.
Second.
Motion been seconded. Mr. Barrington, any additions or corrections? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion's carried. All right, number 2 on the agenda is consider settlement and mutual release agreement for South Digester coating. Mr. Garsky? You would like to take that, or?
Sure, I didn't know I'd be put on the spot, but yes. Come on, Davis. So we discussed this at the Board of Public Works meeting. It's come down to all parties involved agreeing, well, actually coming up with this agreement. Our part as the city is to, after the work is done to our liking, complete with all inspections, we would release all parties from any liability forward, i.e. the 1-year warranty that has been applied to this contract through both coating applications that have failed. So we're on the 3rd round of coating. As I've stated many times, I think the major failure has always been in the application process and not the product. Being that we have Sanchez Coatings on board, who is known for their coating expertise. I believe that through this workflow that has been established, that everything will be done properly, inspected, and after each phase is complete, they actually have to be approved by Donahue, our engineer, and the city to agree that it is done properly before you move on to the next step. As far as all the legality stuff, I would let Attorney Steckbauer speak on that portion, because it went between several attorneys. Did you want to touch on that?
So if I may, so it was essentially presented to us. So I don't know if you recall, late last year, we had what we thought was an agreement. You were bringing it to council, and as we walked in the door, they yanked it from us. This, I think, is actually a better solution. This brings, the problem with that solution is it was a release on our part, relying only on a limited warranty at the end of the day, but it didn't have all the parties to the table. This solution, they came to us basically with the package driven by our engineers that says, hey, this is the best we can come up with. You know, is it perfect? Is it, you know, the warranty that we would like? Not really. But at the end of the day, it's the only way we could come up with that we could really buy into that gets us a completed digester that we need done before we address the second one. So it's about as good as I think as you're going to get. And we basically, our obligation is to approve it and not unreasonably withhold our approval based upon 2 people telling us that it's right. And also having our people there looking and making sure that it appears right. Not that we're experts, we're going to really know. We have to rely on the experts, but we're going to have more oversight than we would have had probably any other way.
And the material warranty is still in place.
Yes.
So if there's a failure of the material warranty, this is shown that the application was done properly, then it falls onto a material warranty situation.
But I don't think we're really concerned about the coding. It's all about how it's done. It's quality stuff that we're putting on. It just has to be done by somebody that knows. I don't take words out of your mouth, but That's what you've been told.
That is correct.
Any further questions? Any further discussion? Looking for a motion.
I'll make a motion to settle mutual release agreement for the South Digester coating.
Motion's been made,
Second.
second by Mr. Barrington. Any further discussion?
The second was by Mr. Bisou.
Oh, what did I say? Oh, I'm sorry.
That's why we're crossing each other.
Mr. Bisou. All right, are you set up to do a roll call?
I can.
Sorry.
Excuse me for the order, but Bernie Ritchie?
Yep.
Barrington?
Yes.
Esau?
Yes.
Roberts?
Yes.
Pache?
Yes.
Herder? Nope, not absent. Cass?
Yes.
Dorsey?
Yes.
Croy?
Yes.
Miguelski?
Yep.
Nine in favor.
That motion carries 9-0. All right. Number 3, consider a recommendation from the Library and Museum Board to award a construction contract for the library renovation project to 8 Pine. Mr. Hurth, would you like to take that?
I will jump on that. So a little history in your packet, you should have found a bid tab for the library renovation project. This was put out to bid several months ago. The actual bid opening was originally scheduled for early April, but we pushed it back during the process to try to collect or get more interest because we were hearing that the contractors were busy or that they weren't interested in the grant requirements, things like that. So we did extend it one time, had another round of site plan review and things like that at the current building to see if we can get some more interest. But in the end, after the bid opening on April 28th, we ended up with one bid by 8 Pine. They're a company out of Shawano, a newer company out of Shawano. They actually did receive the Shawano project through this same grant process. Shawano was awarded the FFP grant as well. 8 Pine was awarded that project. They bid on this one. They're a little bit here. We did have concerns with just being a newer company. So myself and Attorney Stegbauer and some others, our attorney sat down with 8 Pine to have like a pre-qualification meeting. Like I said, 8 Pine's a little bit of a newer company. They have a lot of people that are employees that have spun off from Myron and some other areas. So luckily they do have a lot of experience. Like the one guy, the head guy for 8 Pine, I think he's got like 20 years of experience with Myron, some bigger projects. Several others of his team have also been involved with bigger projects. Our engineer Devin from Keller did say that he felt a lot better listening to how they were talking and what they were saying. They've gone through bigger processes like this. So he felt much more comfortable after that meeting with them, which was good. Some of the things that we have to do yet. Number one, because it's a single bid, we did go through the process properly, but the grant requirements are to have multiple bids. They want to see multiple bids to compare. Unfortunately, we did not get multiple bids, so we're going through a process right now to get a sole bid exception from the state to allow us to award the contract to a single bidder that we got. So we're going through that process right now. Like I said, the bid was a little bit higher than anticipated. I think the biggest things right now that included that were, number one, it was not the best time of year to do a bid process like this. We should have had this bid out in November, but we had to wait for the grant process. We were waiting for the grant paperwork to make sure that everything was all up to speed. That pushed everything back to March and April. And, you know, April's not probably one of the best times to bid out because a lot of contractors got their schedules already figured out for the summers. The other thing is it's got a very tight timeline with the grant requirements. They have to start no later than July 1st. And I can't remember the end date, but it's next fall somewhere. And many of the contractors felt like that was too tight for their timelines as well. But we did get one bid at least for the project. So that was reviewed by the Library Museum Board. The minutes for that meeting on April 30th are in your packet as well. After a bunch of discussion, they did make a recommendation to award the project with 8 Pine. At that meeting, they talked about doing alternates 2, 3, and 4 in the project. I did hand out a spreadsheet, so I want you guys to kind of look at that spreadsheet next. Bring it up on the screen here now. The spreadsheet gives a little bit of a summary of where everything's at. So on the left would be for the entire project, the base construction, and the reason why it's kind of segmented a little bit, the original bid, the project before the grant was even awarded, the Library Museum Board was looking at doing just basically the third floor and some of the HVAC and electrical, some of the basic stuff. That's why the base bid is the second floor and a lot of the main things. Alternate 2 was for the first floor. And the reason being at the time, they didn't know if they were gonna have enough money right away for the entire project. So by separating it out way back when, that's why it's kind of separated out as base bid and then alternate 2 and stairs and first floor. So in the end, without having to rewrite the entire bid specs, the bids went out as a base bid with the second floor, HVAC, electrical, and major things. The alternate 1 was for that central stairwell. If you remember, if you've seen the design plans, they had an option for doing a center stairwell right in the middle of the first floor, going into the second floor. Alternate 2 included the work needed for the first floor. Alternate 3, and I think Ann can relay, Ann and the group can relay this a little bit better than I can. I wasn't involved in the design specs, but this was for some special ceiling tiles and some tree wraps. There's pillars in the middle of the first floor. The purpose of that was to kind of hide those pillars, be a little bit more decorative situation with the tree wraps. And then alternate 4, in talking with Devin from Keller, he's really suggesting we look at adding some additional flashing. During their investigation, they found some areas where they were concerned with water infiltration or potential water infiltration in the building. They had seen signs of that, so they were really recommending for protecting the investment that we're looking at doing, adding that additional flashing on the roof, and that was another alternate, kind of separating that out. Continuing with the entire project itself, architectural design and then construction management are identified in that summary sheet right there at $465,000, and then construction management just under $400,000. Contingency budget, Devin from Keller is suggesting at least a $400,000 contingency budget. We're gonna find things when you open up those walls. He said he would not be surprised if we use at least $250,000 in contingency or change orders, because you're not gonna know what you're gonna find out once you start opening the walls. So he's estimating that we're gonna be in that $250,000 to $400,000 range once you get into the project for a remodel like it is today. Furniture, I got a question mark yet, and needs to kind of figure out what the furniture needs are yet. Also using some existing furniture from the library and existing furniture from First State Bank. So there's a number that's got to kind of get figured out with that. There has been asbestos identified in the building. We are currently doing a bid process to get a firm number for that. So those bids are, that bid opening is in a couple of weeks. So we're gonna be working on needed to get a separate contractor to come in and do environmental asbestos removal, a lot of that. And with all this grant information, we did have to hire a grant administrator, as you guys are well aware of, to help us with all the paperwork we need to do with the project. So having all those added up, and I'll go back to alternate number 3. That alternate that you see there is actually a deduct. The main bid construction, either in the main bid or the first floor, that had the specs in there for those tree wraps and ceiling tiles. If we wanted to remove that, that's when you would include alternate 3, that would be a deduct to remove those costs from the main bid or the first floor bid. So again, if you add up all those numbers, including the deduct, if we would remove that, so you include all the alternates, you're at a project cost of $7.5 million. And then I provided some other information with some different options below that. There was a lot of talk about removing the central stairwells. I mean, the central stairs at a cost over $800,000, that's a hard thing to include right now, just for that cost. So this line 19 that you see on your sheet, that includes the total project costs, including, design, construction management, and everything. No central stairs, no tile, special ceiling tiles or tree wrap. So I've got it underneath there showing that no to alternate 1, yes to alternate 2, yes to alternate 3, yes to alternate 4. That comes up to a construction project cost of 6.7 million. Then if we include, let's see, no central stairs, and then yes, the ceiling tile. So we include the ceiling tiles, we include the tree wrap. So we're removing alternate 3. Then it comes up to 6,737,959.37. So the two colored numbers in the bottom you see there is just what the construction contracts would be. Again, the Library Museum Board recommended that the council considers going with the contract base bid, alternate 2, which is the first floor, alternate 3, which removes the ceiling tile and some tree wrap, and including alternate 4 of the roof flashing. That will get you that blue number of $5,412,978.09. Since then, there's been some discussion, and I'll let Ann and Library Museum Board and fundraising group kind of talk beyond that. There's some talk about wanting to keep the tree wraps and the ceiling tiles in there to hide the pillars that are on the first floor. That would be the green number of $5,430,959.35. Going back on the right side, the revenues, you can see how we're paying for this. The FFP grant, we have been awarded 3.9 million. The current trust that the library has from the previous donations that have been received is about 2.1 million. The city's second contribution, the first contribution is already in the trust. The second contribution is not in the trust. We have that separated yet. So including our second contribution of $500,000, we have a raised fundraising total of 6.5 million. If the project would include everything without the stairs and taking out those special tiles and tree wrap, there is a gap yet of about 211,000. If the plan would be to include those tiles and tree wrap, but without the stairs yet, you're at a gap of 229,200. So those are the numbers right there. I think at this point in time, we're going to invite representatives from the Library Board to kind of talk about the project a little bit. And I've kind of asked them to talk about the gap. Where's the gap funding going to come from for the project? There is some other commitments that are out there, and I think they've been hard at work doing that. So I don't know who wants to come up first. But make sure you come up to the mic up here to the side right here, so we can get everybody on audio.
Okay, let's talk about the tree and the tiles first. So right now, when you go into the bank, they're brick columns, excuse me. So on the children's side, what we had envisioned was the river running through it with the carpet and trees. And so they were going to take those brick columns out and wrap them in a soft brown tree-like substance. So we feel like, for one thing, it will kind of erase the bank from people's minds because the columns will be gone. But also it's a safety issue. Those are very sharp edges. And this is a soft tile. So the ceiling tiles that they're talking about are acoustic, so it will try and keep down the noise from the children's section more. Plus it adds to the tree concept and sky concept. So when the library board had talked about this, Devin was talking about it only as the clouds, and we were willing to give the clouds up, but then it came to everything. It's gone, the trees. So that's why we've come back to, we need to include that. We feel like that's a crucial point of the project. We've talked about it with every person that's walked in. We've talked about those stairs. We're losing the stairs. I think losing everything kind of takes away from any kind of wow when you walk in the building. And it's only, sounds like a lot, it's only 17,000 when you're talking about a $6 million project. We feel like it's worth it, 18,000. So that's our first thing, and that's why the board recommended one thing, and now we're coming back with a different thing, because it really was just the tiles of the clouds that he was talking about. They're like, yeah, we could live with that, and then put them up later. But leaving the brick in there, I think is a safety issue, and it's, and I think it makes, get away from the bank. So the gap, right now we have $214,357 of pledges still out.
What was that amount to get?
My glasses, 214,357. So we would have enough to fill the gap right now without the stairs or the tops, if everyone honors their pledge. We haven't had an issue yet. Some of that is the extraordinary women, and they're making payments. So some of those are already being paid as we go. There's a couple other people who are making payments. 115,000 strung out for a couple more years. There's a 50,000 still outstanding. That is a couple years. They're going to pay. And a lot of the other ones were startup construction. We have great faith that they will pay. We have only had people who have passed not pay. Ron Steinhorst, bless his soul, died before he gave his last portion of it. Junie McDaniel. So it was people who had pledged and then passed, their families didn't honor the pledge. Gonna get that. Otherwise, I think everyone that we have had pledges from up until this point, and we'll send invoices back out to these people with a letter saying, the bid has been, or the contract has been approved. We need your money to put us over the top. Please fulfill your pledge.
Any questions?
So
Oh, I
Judy,
mean, in addition to that, there is another grant opportunity. They kind of changed their rules, but we can always try for that. We now have a grant writer who we can call on to help us do that. Also, the Community Foundation, who has given us some money, we could always go back to them and ask for more to finish the project. So those are two possibilities. We'll continue to fundraise with other people that we've talked to. We have a couple people who we've talked to and said, we'll just go back to them. Also, people who have already given really want to see the project get done. So there's always a possibility to go back to some of those people. People who've given 5 maybe can give 5 more. People who haven't given still can give.
I just had two questions.
Yes.
So Judy, I guess if it's approved with the $229,000 gap, are you comfortable with that?
I am.
What?
I wouldn't, yeah. I would say this is a very large project. It's gonna do a lot of good for our community. And I feel like once that project starts up, that there's an easier opportunity to, knock on doors and ask people, can you help us finish? I mean, we're already $6 million 300,000 into this. And we need 230 to finish it up. And I know there's other furnaces things that happen, but
Sure, there's that, but we have really looked at the banks. What the bank had for auction, we bought some stuff for that. The grant could not pay for staff areas, so almost all the furniture in the staff areas is gonna go from the bank. The furniture that we have at the library obviously can be used right now. It's from 1986, but boy, it sure looks nice.
So I
Still
guess
looks good.
one of my second questions was, is that staircase something will that be allowed to like be put in the future if you guys had more money, or is that all gotta puzzle together with the engineering to make that happen?
That is a question for Devin, but I mean, to me, I was never in love with the stairs. I think it's a great little showpiece, but the sight lines are so much better without it. And the two outside stairs that are there now, Dave and who's the other guy?
For building inspectors, John.
Yes, looked at them and said that they were fine, they could work. Now, what we would hope is that we could open them up a little bit and have them, something so that they're part of the library. It also, in my mind, might allow us to leave that meeting room open after hours. Because that was an open staircase that you could not lock off the bottom floor. This way you could close off that lobby entrance. The elevator would still be there, the stairs would still be there. And you could lock everything upstairs except for the restrooms and the meeting room. So I could see how that would be advantageous for a lot of people in town.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
So the 214,000 in pledges is not on the sheet. That'll be in addition to this.
It's in
So you're
addition.
saying you're still gonna come in within budget with the pledges.
Well, if we don't do it-
214, I mean, another 16,000, you're there, 15,000.
Yes,
So you're gonna come in within budget.
and actually, if the friends are generous, we could have 219,000. So closer to 220,000.
and a lot of that depends on whether we actually all 400,000. I've done renovation, I know you've done. But, if we don't need all 400,000, which is a total unknown. But if we don't need it, that gives us.
Any further questions?
I just want a point of clarification. So the ask is now, not what is in the library museum meeting minutes. The ask is now that we would, award the contract for the base construction, alternates 2 and 4. Is that correct?
What we have in the green.
What in the green? Yep.
Oh,
Sorry, I'm gonna cut some of that off. What you can see in here, it says, if you do that, your motion hypothetically would be to award the contract to 8 Pine for the base bid, alternate 2, and alternate 4. You're not going to say alternate 3 because that's the deduct.
That's the deduct, correct?
So you would say what's in the green that's up on the screen, the base bid, alternate 2, and alternate 4 in the amount of $5,430,959.35. Hypothetically.
And your question to the library board, that's what they're recommending.
That's their ask at this point. Okay. Because I was at the other meeting. I just wanted to make sure that that was the ask now. Okay.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, we're looking for a motion.
Okay, I will make a motion to award the contract to 8 Pines to do the basic construction, alternates 2 and alternate 4 in the amount of $5,430,000 $430,959.35.
Second.
Motion been made by Ms. Croy, seconded by Mr. Fache. Any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll have a roll call vote.
All right, Richie,
Yep.
Barrington,
Yes.
Esau,
Yes.
Roberts,
Yes.
Fache,
Yes.
Hess,
Yes.
Dorsey,
Yes.
Croy,
Yes.
and Migalski.
That motion carried 9-0. Can't wait to see your guys' new building. Thank you. All right, moving along. Consider an offer to purchase a vacant land from Northland Electric in the Northeast Business Center. Mr. Hirsch?
Attorney Stigmar and I have been tag teaming, working on getting this vacant land offer to purchase. This is for Northland Electric in the industrial park. We've talked about this in several capacities in that we've done a lot split for splitting a lot in the industrial park. And, some zoning aspects to allow for the uses that they are looking at doing in the industrial park. But what you see in front of you is the land purchase offer in the amount of $505,092. Standard offer to purchase documentation that you see. There was also a supplement to the offer. They are asking for a right of first refusal for the other parcel that we split for a term of 5 years. So basically, if we would try to sell it and someone makes an offer for the second lot, they would have the right to match that for a term of 5 years. Let's see, they also are committing that they're going to invest a sum of at least $750,000 on the property. That was part of the negotiations of the purchase price. We are selling property at $10,000 an acre, but because of our discounts or our credits that we have on putting assessed value on parcels, that brought it down to that $5,000 price point. Some other things in here, and then we just had an amendment to offer to purchase. We had to push back the timeline a little bit because they were talking about making sure that we had this accepted offer by the second. We had to push it back a little bit because of our council meeting agendas and schedules. So, Attorney Stigmar, you got anything you want to add?
So, yeah, it's pretty standard, the offer to purchase form, the supplement offer to purchase I wrote. So it's all the terms and conditions that I want.
Any questions or discussion?
I have, why would we give them the rights to decide who's gonna build by them? On 5 years?
Mhm.
You know, if we get an offer or something? What gives them, why should we give them rights to say, no, they can't build there? They can't buy it?
They have to buy it.
They would have to purchase.
They'll have to purchase the land. They can't, they
They-
don't get
they-
to decide who their neighbor
They're
is. They-
reserving the right to purchase. They just don't want to do it right now. But within, 5 years, if somebody does come in to buy it, they have the first right of refusal, meaning that they can purchase it for that amount.
And then if they don't purchase it, whoever wants it.
Then the other
Yeah.
person can, correct.
It just gives them the option if they felt like within 3 years, they feel like they need more than to expand. That gives them the opportunity to say, hey, we wanna take that before someone else grabs it up within 5 years. In 4 years, they could come back and say, we need more land and we wanna purchase it at that point in time, but it's just, if someone would come along, gives them the first right to match that. Otherwise, the other buyer would have the opportunity to purchase.
Any
Attorney
further
Stigmar, is that correct? I know it's kind of fishy there. You want to explain the right to a first refusal?
So I know one of the committees, I think Hans talked about it. This is not an option to purchase. An option to purchase is an agreement today to buy something at X dollars that I can at any point come in and buy it today or tomorrow for a price negotiated today. So that's an option. That's a binding contract to sell. And I basically just have to raise my hand and say, I want it. It's an agreed term. That needs to have the consideration that Hans is talking. The difference, so an option is an agreed price. I can go ahead and buy it anytime. Here, what we're saying is anybody that comes along and says, hey, I'll give you $20,000 for that property, we have to go to Northern Electric and say, we have an offer for 20 grand, just pick a number for. We have an offer on the table for 20 grand. Will you pay 20 grand for it? Northern Electric says, yeah, we don't need that. They pass, the new place buys it for 20. The Northern Electric says, no, you kind of told us we need to go ahead and buy that. We'll match it with whatever that price is. So it's not an agreed upon price today. That's the difference between an option and a right of first refusal.
Thank you for explaining that.
Does that help?
Very much so.
How much more, how much more land is out there? I know you've got a water tower out there, you've got a lot of extra power out there.
I don't have an acreage. I can find that out. I don't have that at my fingertips, but I can just give you a map generally showing what we have available out there today.
A lot.
Plenty. So
Too
this is the
much.
industrial park right now. The lot that we're splitting with Northern Electric, the lot we're splitting is right here. So they want the western half of this lot. The eastern half of this lot is going to be the one for the right for first refusal. So we have these lots right here, for an example. So this is 10 acres about, give or take. So you can kind of see what 10 acres looks like. So we have all this yet. This is what we're selling. This is what we'll retain. We have all this acreage down in here yet. Up to this point, this one is private, not ours. This is ours. And then we have these lots around, not here, but the ones around the retention pond here. And then the 3 lots that are here. So I don't have a number what that is for acreage, but there's plenty.
The reason a lot of that soil we've had to replace. So it probably, we can't bring in a big manufacturing outfit without us tying in a pretty good sum of money to replace all that soil.
It depends on what the building structure would be and the needs for the structural capacity of that soil. So every building's different. If it's something that needs a lot of structure, yeah, there's gonna
I
have to
mean,
be some.
everything we've built out there, pretty much, we've had to replace soil.
Not the cheese factory. Just down towards the pond, down towards where it used to be the EJ Meadow.
Yeah, I wasn't in this capacity as I am now.
In my 25 years of being around, that's the only parcel that needed soil fixing in that area, but
to your point, Mike, if anybody does come in any of these areas, I've had discussions with them to get soil borings to make sure that everything is up and up. So when Northern Electric was interested in this one, they did their due diligence on this site and they feel like it's going to be the same for that site. That's up to them. But it's a smaller structure, so they don't need a lot of structural support for what they're planning on that lot right there.
Any further questions? Hearing none, we're looking for a motion.
I'll make a motion to consider the offer of purchase of vacant land from Northern Electric at Northeast Business Center.
second,
Motion made by Mr. Dorsey, second by Mr. Fache. Any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll have a roll call vote.
Richie,
Yes.
Barrington,
Yes.
Esau,
Yes.
Roberts,
yes.
Fache,
Yes.
Hess,
Yes.
Dorsey,
Yes.
Roy,
Yes.
and Migalski.
Motion's
Nine.
carried 9-0. Only thing left is motion for adjournment.
I'll make that motion.
Motion been made.
Second.
Who second? Second by Mr. Hess. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion